This is a podcast by the News Minute, and you are listening to South Central.
अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. Welcome to another episode of...
Wait. This is not yet another episode of News Laundry Hafta. It's actually a brand new podcast. Welcome to South Central, a TNM podcast which puts South at the center. So Abhinandan, it's South at the center. And welcome to
My bad. I'm just bad habit. Aadat se majboor, which in English is helpless in front of old habits. But yes, it's your show, South Central.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah, it's also about the age, right? So this is a weekly podcast from the News Minute. I'm your host, Dhanya Rajendran. We are recording on the 13th of November, 3 p.m. I'm going to introduce my co-host first, Pooja Prasanna, the reporting head of the News Minute. She's just traveled to Maharashtra and come back. Welcome, Pooja.
Thank you.
And next is Leena Reghunath. Leena is a lawyer first and then a journalist, right, Leena?
A journalist first and then a lawyer.
You keep changing.
Yes,
actually, yeah. So she's a journalist first and then lawyer. She's worked with the Caravan. She's worked with the Supreme Court Observer.
And she's also worked as a lawyer.
Yes, and also as a lawyer. Yeah. Our guest today is Abhinandan Sekhri, co-founder and CEO of Newslaundry. Abhinandan, lots of pressure on South Central because the moment we put the promo out, someone wrote to me saying that we hope it's as irrelevant as Hafta. So I'm like, irrelevant? It said irreverent as Hafta. So I'm supposed to be as irreverent.
But I've been given strict instructions that I cannot use the language I use on Hafta on your show.
No, but I said you can use the F word thrice. In a 1 hour show, thrice you can use.
Oh, that's my quota.
Yeah, that's your quota. Thrice, yeah. And joining us from Delhi is Professor Anup Surendranath. Anup is a professor of law at the National Law University. He's also the executive director of Project 39A. It's something which has always fascinated me. It's a criminal justice program which helps under trials. They also work with people who are on the death row. In fact, we have worked with them on 1 or 2 stories. Welcome, Anup, to the South Central, the first episode, in fact.
Thank you, Dhanya. Also breathing in AQI 400 air. So hopefully the conversation will be less toxic. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, yes, you Delhi guy is breathing in really polluted air. Both of you.
Yes, I'm coming to Bangalore next week for important meetings with your CEO.
Okay.
So at least I'll get out of this air.
So to all those watching, for more than an hour, we'll discuss important headlines. We'll discuss at least 3 topics in detail. First, of course, Pooja will begin with the headlines. And also want to tell you that every month, we'll have one TNM or News Laundry subscriber joining us on the show. So do write to us, tell us what you think about the show, and tell us if you want to discuss something, maybe a research paper, maybe something interesting you're doing. So Pooja, let's start with the headlines.
I'm going to start with Telangana. Telangana begins its first caste-based census since 1931, set to cover 1.17 crore households. So it's happening. Congress had promised. It's finally started. But I think there's a lot of fight about whether this is divisive or not, right? BJP saying this is divisive. What do you guys think?
But Anup, I think, is an expert on
I would
this.
like
Anup,
to hear.
what are your thoughts?
No, I think it's absolutely essential to know what is the proportion of population, and we really can't, without doing a caste survey, know what are the levels of participation in government positions. And look, beyond a point, the Supreme Court is really pushing governments to have really hardcore data if they want to allow for reservations. That push for data and the kind of intensity which they want has its own politics, I think, with how the court is looking at reservations. But for both reasons, right, to know what is the gap and also if reservation measures are to be justified, this is absolutely necessary. There is no, and I think Gopal Guru has a very interesting perspective on this, and as he wrote in the EPW, that he said for individuals belonging to disadvantaged groups to have a sense of their own disadvantage, to recognize their own disadvantage, this data needs to be made available to them for their own consciousness of their disadvantage and discrimination. This data is crucial. So I think that's such an important perspective to have.
Yeah, I was also wanted to come in there and say Danya's interview last week with Mohan Gopal. And the solution he gave for all the issues, even with the court, was to bring in more diversity.
We need to have more diversity in the judiciary. We need more diversity in the bar, regional, gender, social, caste, religious. Now imagine the jurisprudence, and if you had this in the bar also, imagine the kind of jurisprudence that would come from a Supreme Court. And imagine that of these people, at least 50% were women, right? In the bar and in the bench, on the bench. And then you'd start to understand that the jurisprudence you will get will be very different.
And to bring in a proper kind of diversity, the starting point is to have the proper data for that, right? And we still don't have proper caste data. And the Bihar caste census showed us like how far off we are from what we were thinking and assuming. So I think
hope the data is being collected properly, because one of our colleagues was saying that they came with the form and when she filled the caste names, they were like, no need now. So I wonder how they are, and they also changed the questions the last minute. There was a lot of controversy over the questions. They changed the questions. So, sometimes it's not just the intent, right? They have to do it. If they screw up the entire thing, then what's the point?
I think Karnataka is that classic case where they did it and it's still not out. But speaking of Karnataka, Karnataka government to probe COVID-19 scam allegations after cabinet approval and after bypolls. So this was a story we put out a couple of days ago. And this is just one small part of the large voluminous interim report that the Justice gave. And it
Justice
showed...
Michael D. Kuna.
Michael D. Kuna.
I think everybody in South India knows his name. Abhinandan, do you? Because you claim to be South Indian. Huh? You don't?
No,
you
I
don't know
don't,
Justice
honestly.
Michael Kuna? He's the one who gave the judgment on the Jayalalitha disproportionate assets case.
And the Yeddiyurappa case as well.
Not as big as Jayalalitha's case.
Fine.
So basically the scam is that...
But sorry to cut it. I mean, regarding, since you said he gave the judgment, yes, this is something that I've noticed, and I've been a consumer of news media for a long time because I've been in this space for 30 years now. But this whole thing of naming judges is a last decade or so, right? Because before that, I remember whenever judgments were covered in the media, very rarely did you know who was the judge. Or is it just that I have a bad memory? Or has that pattern changed of how it's reported?
I think there have been very few judges who could have wrote with that flair and had that kind of influence. Maybe Krishna Iyer's judgments, people used to quote it by heart, right? With the flair that he wrote the judgments. But that was, I think, after news of court proceedings started getting covered, I think more and more judges have been able to make a mark with the kind of judgments that they write. What do you think, Anup?
Yeah, I think it's also commensurate with the growth of legal journalism and whatever shape and form we are seeing it. And I think and that's what's making audiences more familiar with judges' names. And also I think there is a slight culture of rock star judges for whatever reason. And I guess we'll cover that later in the day. Later in the episode.
So anyway, the scam is that BS Yeddiyurappa, who was the then chief minister during COVID, and Sri Ramalu, who was the health minister, for what joy was...
For 2 months, he said we should garlic to get rid of COVID. The man
He's the
said
mining baron.
Garlic.
He was the health minister. And they apparently gave contracts to a lot of companies which had just been established and at inflated prices. So Justice Michael Kuna has given a 11-volume report. And the government, I think, has not even read most of it because they are also leaking portions of it now. Yeah.
And mind you, this is just the interim report. This is not the final report. Going to the other Telugu state, the Andhra Pradesh budget for 2025, funds for Amravati capital region has nearly doubled. This is Chandrababu Naidu's pet project.
And not surprising.
Not surprising. But I wonder where they'll get the money from.
But I think a large amount of money is coming from the union government. Only a small part is coming from Andhra itself. But at least he is now very sure that he wants one capital and not 3 capitals, as Jagan was saying.
Yeah, but either ways, I hope that this, dilemma that the Andhra people are in.
I mean, that's a state where you go and there's literally no capital. Like, what is your capital? You don't know what to fill the answer as.
Yeah. Moving to Tamil Nadu, no alliance with BJP clarifies AIADMK amid speculation. Dhanya, how many times have you read this headline?
See, there is no end to this. Till the elections come, we can never say there is alliance or there is no alliance. It can change anytime. And please, our Annamalai is in London. Let him come back. Let's see what happens. Yeah.
But then before election...
Oxford, I thought.
Oh, okay. Huh. Yeah, what do you think?
Now you're behaving like a Punjabi. Because for Punjabis, everything is London.
Somehow in my brain, he's gone to London.
You have given away that your South credentials are cancelled, because if you ask a Punjabi, where London che, Southampton, Ireland, Scotland, New
So
Zealand.
good, right? All
everything is London.
Punjabis come in and listen to this Punjabi host. Yeah. Leena,
No,
you're
what
saying?
I was trying to say is that any alliance declaration before the election is going to badly affect them, right?
No, I think
Because-
the BJP and the AIADMK definitely need each other, which is very evident from the last election. But of course, there is a new party in the process, which is Vijay's party. So lots of permutations and combinations will play out in Tamil Nadu, I feel.
But I must add here, people make so much fun of Annamalai. What he did with the party is commendable.
Yeah.
But
But I don't think everybody in the party thinks so.
no.
Well,
A
that's
lot of
because he
people
has
in the party
enemies,
don't like
right? He's somebody you can very easily hate.
Well, we'll
As I know
discuss
well.
Annamalai at length. Yes, please go on to the next headline.
Waqf Land claims rising in Kerala as families, including Muslims, get eviction notices. BJP smells blood. This is not me adding. It's a proper Deccan Herald headline.
BJP smells blood.
I
Blood.
did not add this.
Yes.
But I just on this, I just want to say that, see, there was one of the biggest jokes forever, and I guess that is one of the reasons News Minute was founded, did so well, was that even back in the 90s when I was with News Track, the joke when I used to travel to the south was, we don't call it daily news, we call it Delhi news, because there were no channels, there was just daily news bulletins. And the whole grouse was that the south is never covered. But see, the thing is, if you ever throw up a hijab issue, a Waqf Land issue, it is covered daily, hours together on prime time. So you just have to get the right subject and south will get enough coverage.
Also, every 10 minutes you can praise as Abhinandan. We'll not interrupt you. Just So, protests in Tamil Nadu over portrayal of Muslims in Sivakarthikeyan's Amaran.
I have not seen the movie, but I saw everybody protesting about the movie that the terrorists are Muslims in that. And I think the grouse is not just because of the movie, but it is, I think Kamal Hassan has produced it. And in his earlier movies also, there has been complaint that there is a certain way in which Muslims are portrayed. There's a stereotypical portrayal of Muslims. So that's why the protests are on.
Vishwarupam 2, I think, also faced similar protests.
See, when it comes to movies, Dhanya will keep quiet. Because first thing, I don't watch enough movies. And when I do and I say something sarcastic, I get rogered online. So-
Dhanya has the most controversial takes on
No,
Tamil
not as
movies.
much as Abhinandan, but I don't know why people don't abuse him as much.
I think they have
They do, I just don't give a shit.
Executive can't become judge. Supreme Court says no bulldozer justice without show cause notice. The Apex Court also said that the state and its officials can't take arbitrary and excessive measures.
That's a very important judgment which is coming today.
About time.
Yeah.
No, but
But on this, sorry, Leena, go ahead.
no, I'm saying that the judgment is fine, and we have been seeing comments coming from the court in the same line. But unless you penalize those states, but states are again and again going and doing the same thing, right? There is no stopping them unless you penalize them very seriously for this bulldozer justice. How is
But
this going
on this,
to?
I want to say, because I read the slightly detailed report on this, a part of this is that in case, in spite of this order, demolition is carried out, there will be financial, penal action against the officials who go ahead and do it. I wanted to ask, since we do have two legal luminaries here or experts, and this was even when we got, raided in the income tax case, and they illegally took my laptop and phone, etc. And we got a favorable order in the court. My question is always, why should this official have to pay? Isn't there a way in which the boss's boss, like the top, for example, if there is a case against Newslaundry or News Minute, I'm guessing we will not tell the reporter, go fend for yourself. If there is any action, we will handle the action, we will handle the case. Here they're saying some junior officer will be penalized, which is also in this case, Leena, they have said there'll be penal action, financial action against, but why against that? It should be right at the top, right? The urban minister or whoever is the demolition minister, whatever they have, let that guy pay the money, na?
Anup, when you're answering that, I have one more additional question. Is 15-day notice really enough?
Yes. So you know what? I guess what Abhinandan is talking about in international humanitarian law, it's known as command responsibility, right? That the person at the top is the one who's giving the order, right? The guy at the bottom is just following someone's orders, right? So the logic is that the person who is authorizing this action, who has the power and the responsibility to authorize this action, should be the one paying. And so in that sense, I don't see the logic of having some lower level bureaucrat bearing the brunt for this. And I don't think it will be effective deterrence to state governments and executive if that is how we are going to do this, right? And
exactly.
unless at the chief secretary or top bureaucrats in the ministry concerned, this will then just be that, oh, they did it without us knowing, and they will plead ignorance, and this will keep happening.
Just find a
And
scapegoat.
once it happens, my real fear is, and I've cursely gone through the judgment, that these 15-day notice periods, governments will claim there was compliance, and everybody will be left running pillar to post. And once this gets into the court system, the Supreme Court, unless the Supreme Court is willing to take this on a war footing and say that every instance of this will be dealt with promptly, I don't really. This sounds very good. It sounds very progressive, but the proof of this pudding is particularly going to be in the eating, right? How this plays out on the ground. I am skeptical. I just hope this doesn't go into one of those collections of very good judgments that just have no teeth on the ground. Right?
But aren't we legitimizing the bizarre logic that you go after a section of people, overwhelmingly
But this
Muslim?
is only for illegal constructions. They are not
No,
talking.
but they can use this, right?
Of course,
What
yes.
stops them from saying that we'll give you 15-day notice and we'll go after Muslim, houses, which is what they've been doing.
The difficulty really is, and they've tried to draw a balance, because one of the principles in law is that there is no equality in illegality, right?
Yeah.
So if you are raided for not paying taxes or whatever, you can't claim that, oh, you can't raid me until you raid everyone else who has not paid tax. You can't claim an equality in illegality. And that's the real tough point here, because the governments are claiming we are just doing what the law allows us to do, which is demolish illegal constructions, right? Except that they are choosing to go after people who are accused, or there's an FIR against them, and there is a selection in who they're going after. But I think the tricky position, why this has gone on for so long, is because they are hiding behind that principle of law, that we are just doing what we're authorized to do by the law, right?
And also, I'm not sure that's a solvable problem. Sorry, are we going on to the next headline? I'll keep quiet then.
No, go on.
No, go on, Abhinandan. We'll be
Yeah.
reverent.
We're here for you.
I don't know
We're
if
here
it's
for
a
you.
solvable problem, because, and again, giving the example of Newslaundry only, we have got no coercive action in 3 income tax cases against us, where they have copy pasted the same thing, and it's very tedious to give all the bills for a full year from like 8 years ago. We'll file, and then they say, okay, no coercive action. Copy paste the same notice, send it for the next year. So even in court, when we argued that they're just doing the same thing, and I understand, even though we suffered, the judge says, I cannot give an order that you cannot scrutinize their accounts. You may have done some shit at some point. Now, that is a very valid judgment. The judge cannot say, no, these guys are doodh sa dulha, now you cannot send them a notice. If those guys want to harass us, we get a no coercive action for 2017-18, they'll send us the same notice of 16-17, ab phir se file tayar karo, send it. Then they'll send it so you can only get a stay for that. You cannot say this should not happen to anyone, because maybe someone has fucked up, no?
Yeah,
So
one over, by the way. The F word used once.
Oh shit, strike one.
Also,
Okay,
100
sorry,
bucks for every Hindi word used.
Hindi imposition on us.
Okay, so I think that's an unsolvable problem, but the solution to that is political, or bureaucratic. Someone stands up and says, what the hell? The punishment has to be in a different zone. I mean, at least that's my thinking. What do the lawyers think? That's not a solvable problem, right?
Yeah, I don't look. It's a very difficult, unless you're willing to fundamentally revisit some basic principles here, which I think the situation calls for, right? It is a targeted state action, and that they're hiding behind this, and it really requires the Supreme Court's attention. I mean, we can see how this works out, but I don't think. But this action of going and destroying families' houses and all of that in another part of the world that is in the news is very much official policy in the Israeli context and in Palestinian territories. is an issue that has come before the Israel Supreme Court and all of that. So, it's not so unheard of, right? Yeah.
Muda scam, fresh trouble mounts for Siddharamaiah. New complaint filed against Karnataka Chief Minister for destroying evidence. Quickly, can I shamelessly plug my piece?
Be
We've
shameless,
written-
be shameless.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't need more encouragement, but here goes. I have written a slightly longish piece on Siddharamaiah's political ideology. Please log in and read. I have taken great pains, and Dhanya has really hammered me. So please,
You know
at
why
least
it's
for that.
written, right? Because in case the Muda scams becomes bigger and he has to resign, there's a profile of his ready. So please go read the profile. It's on his political ideology. Yeah, but Siddharamaiah is in trouble. But the BJP is not able to step up also, I feel, the protest.
I think they have exhausted all their weapons now
Mm.
against
I feel these Karnataka scams are always land scams. People are also not able to understand it. There's not like some,
It's
they're
very
not
dry.
good look. They're not good enough, I feel.
They are either a land scam or they're sex scandals.
I was about to
Yeah.
say that, yeah.
am-
How did Danya not bring that up?
What's patriarchy? Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman calls it a leftist jargon.
I heard her speech. She's like, what's patriarchy? Yeah? It's such a headlineable line, right?
What's patriarchy? If you're able to stand up and speak for yourself logically, which is that patriarchy which is going to say, oh, shut up, sit down? Impossible. Not certainly in a country like India. Impossible. But if patriarchy is a guise we want to give ourselves and say, my inefficiency, my not being ready, we want to cover it up by saying, oh, patriarchy is stopping me. No way. Who stopped Mrs. Indira Gandhi from becoming the Prime Minister of this country? Who stopped? I start with her. Who stopped her? And before that, Aruna Asaf Ali, freedom fighter, Sarojini Naidu. Which patriarchy stopped any of these people?
This is Dhanya trying to plug the fact that she came up with this headline.
No, but see,
Oh,
my
no,
cup,
it's
my
a
cup,
very good
it says,
headline.
I smash patriarchy with an ammikalle. Yeah, I chose this for Nirmala Sitharaman.
Right. And she started the speech with saying that she is going to be controversial here and this is going to land in a very different way, and it has landed in a different way. So now we have two fictions in India. One is poverty and one is patriarchy.
Hunger also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, many more to come. I don't know what's next.
All these
in
jobless leftist people making
Yeah.
up jargons like patriarchy.
Well, she doesn't have to start off by saying I'm going to be controversial. When Nirmala Sitharaman starts speaking, you know it's going to be something that she's irritated about, because there are three people who have just one look on their face no matter what. One is Jagan. He always looks like he's going to start crying any minute.
Pooja won't agree. Pooja won't agree.
That is one. Second is Ajit Pawar, whose interview has made headlines today through News Minute, Newslaundry, Srinivasan did. He always looks irritated. And Nirmala said, she always looks irritated and angry. I mean, I can imagine someone goes up to say, good morning, why is it good? She has that. Just say something and I'll punch you in the nose. So, and what I find fascinating is there's some new show I was seeing, I forget where, I should have made a note of it. Apparently, caste system was introduced by the Mughals and institutionalized by British. There is a full show on this apparently that is being pushed by some of these
No,
right-wing handles who have the
they have been
patronage.
saying this for
So
months
I'm like,
now.
dude, so in Mahabharata and Ramayana also was written by, make up your mind, either those are the most ancient texts, in which case they had already invented the caste system then, and then Mughals could not have invented it because they came later.
No, we have High
Or
Court
then you're
judgments
acknowledging-
saying that caste system was 100 years old and, it's part of judgment.
Or you acknowledge that those texts then were written later. So you can't have it both ways.
She was very patiently explaining her theory that if a woman really wants to do something, then patriarchy cannot stop her. What is patriarchy?
No,
Yeah?
she uses the ISRO example to say that women in saris are sending rockets.
And Indira Gandhi.
And Indira Gandhi.
And
I saw
this
the
was
interview
my
and I
best.
think it's-
Go on.
It's worrying that the most lame and the lowest form of argument is used by a minister who should have the highest form of argument, especially when you're using with macro sets and data, which is anecdotal evidence. Anecdotal evidence is, Dhanya, I'm sure you also must be called very often in Bangalore to judge some debating contest of 9th class, 10th class and all. And you can't say no because you must be Of course, whenever I go there and asked to make a speech, what should be? I said, don't listen to news till you have to. Either if you're in college and taking the civil services, or you finish college. Because before that, there is no need to consume the news. You will just start fighting with each other. This is the time to build strong friendships. But the quality of debates at 9 and 10 is, oh, how can this be? I know someone. There's no racism. My friend is black. There is no communalism. My driver is Muslim. My carpenter is, this Ghatia level, low level, and madam is saying this on a stage.
To
Standing by
students
for the next IT notice.
in a college. As far as I understood, it's in a college, yeah. And to take Indira Gandhi as an example, right? Privilege is not a problem for Nirmala Sitharaman.
Obviously
clearly.
not.
Yeah.
But my favorite was this. She said, women, we are inefficient. So we hide under patriarchy.
Yeah.
So it is all our
Are
fault.
you serious? I missed that. I didn't see that.
No, she
bit.
said that
Yeah.
how can we hide our inefficiency behind patriarchy?
Behind patriarchy. And if somebody wants to do something, it is impossible for someone to say, shut up and sit down.
So whenever I ask Pooja, where is the story? She's like, patriarchy, stop me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, stop being inefficient and stop blaming patriarchy. Yeah.
Good one.
What's patriarchy?
Yeah.
And the final one is our star story for the week. Gautam Adani was part of BJP NCP talks, Ajit Pawar reveals. This in an exclusive interview to Newslaundry and News Minute.
By Srinivasan Jain.
By Srinivasan.
Yeah. So, I was actually talking to someone in the Congress today, and they were saying that why did Ajit Pawar say this now? They're quite pissed off at the fact that Ajit Pawar has said this now. I said, why? So, in the interview, he's basically telling Srinivasan Jain that in 2019, when the first split was to be engineered, Sharad Pawar, Praful Patel, Ajit Pawar, Adani, not Ambani, and Amit Shah were sitting for the meeting.
ये सारे उस वक्त 5 मीटिंग्स आपने कहा हुआ था उस वक्त
हुआ है ना
शरद पवार जी के नॉलेज में
सबके साथ हुआ था आपको जैन साहब वापस बताता हूँ अमित शाह थे गौतम अडानी थे प्रफुल्ल पटेल थे देवेंद्र फडणवीस थे अजित पवार थे पवार साहब थे सब थे.
So the Congress is saying Ajit Pawar deliberately said this Srinivasan Jain because he wants to show that Sharad Pawar was also a part of these meetings and that Sharad Pawar was very much in this and last minute he pulled out. So I said my focus is not on Sharad Pawar, my focus is on Adani, on why is Adani sitting in these meetings. And we've been trying to follow up and we were told that Adani also met Uddhav Thackeray. Shiv Sena saying that he's also met Uddhav Thackeray last year, asking for a patch up between the Shiv Sena and the BJP. So clearly, maybe he should just join the BJP.
No, so what I'm picking up is Ajit Pawar is right now seen as the weakest link in that Mahayuti alliance, right? Because Shinde has kind of stabilized. And his biggest problem is that he's not seen as the legitimate Pawar because Sharad Pawar is like, he's such a larger-than-life figure in Maharashtra. And he thought he can kind of neutralize that by saying that he has one foot here. So he's not reliable. Because he's talking to Adani.
Sharad Pawar is not reliable.
Sharad Pawar is not reliable and he's also talking to Adani.
What have you been hearing about the interview, Abhinandan?
So I want to say something that's way more important than any other insights that anyone on this panel may give, is that you have only heard a little bit of the interview. For the full unedited interview, become a subscriber. Go to the News Minute page, click on the subscribe button, because then you get access to the full uninterrupted interview. So then you don't have to take our word for it because we may be giving spin. Because these women are the masters of spin and they hide behind patriarchy. See for yourself, subscribe. The link is in the show notes, or you can just scan this barcode here. What do we call this? It's called a QR code, not barcode. And become a member of News Minute. Watch the full unedited interview. Then give us your feedback. That's the only insight I have to give.
Madam Finance Minister, where's patriarchy here?
So no, Pooja, when Abhinandan is not a guest, you are supposed to do this job at least thrice. Remind people to take the subscription.
Okay.
Right?
I must tell you, on the Hafta, one of the things that I get feedback a lot of is that no matter what we are discussing, I find a segue. Like the weave, like Trump does the weave. I do a segue into subscription no matter what. Because unless you do that, not only will be Adani sitting in the meeting to topple Maharashtra government, he may not, but some of his sidekick is going to be sitting with us saying, how can we make sure News Minute and Newslaundry does what we want? So you decide what you want. Large industrial houses giving us advertising, or then you can start running ads.
about all the great things that are happening in our nation.
So if you don't want Adani
that's-
sitting in our rooms deciding what we do, become a subscriber now. Now we'll go to the first topic that we want to discuss. It's from Kerala. 2 IAS officers have been suspended by the Kerala government, which itself is big news. And one of them is an IAS officer called Prashant, very popular. He has some 3-4 lakh followers on Facebook. He was called Collector Bro at one time. But we are not going to discuss about Prashant. We are discussing about the other officer. His name is Gopala Krishnan. He is a Tamil Nadu, I think he's born in Tamil Nadu and now he's working in Kerala. He's a Kerala cadre. So he formed a WhatsApp group saying Hindu Mallu officers and added a few Mallu officers. One of these Hindu Mallu officers leaked that screenshot and it was put up in the Asianet news channel. Immediately when it became news, he created some 10 other groups including Mallu Muslim officers. And he added a Mallu Muslim officer who went and gave a police complaint. So this man has been suspended. I thought the suspension was quite harsh. The order was quite harsh because it said that this forming a WhatsApp group is communal, that it is trying to break the harmony of the force of the cadres. And of course, they've quoted a lot of rules under the All India Services. But I was wondering why such a harsh punishment, right? Considering it's a group and maybe he was just wanting to send Deepavali wishes. So one thing I was told is that a lot of officers have the Sangh ideology in their heads or whatever, but they do not do anything in action, but at least the government wants to put an end to it.
Yeah. So I was speaking to an MP, a CPIM MP, and of course I was just trying to get something for Power Trip. By the way, Power Trip is our weekly political newsletter. That's how it's done. Is a weekly political newsletter. Dhanya, Shabir, me, and sometimes Nidish. We bring you stories from the power corridors that you'll not hear anywhere else. It's not gossip. It's very well researched, reported, important scoops. So make sure you become a member so you get access to Power Trip. But going back to what I was saying, I was speaking to a CPIM MP and he said that, see, this one incident is not a big deal, but they are looking at it as a chance to clean up because let's not forget, Kerala has the highest number of shakas in the country. So it's not like though BJP has never come to power, they don't have leanings there, right? And they think that all the officers feel that eventually their bosses are sitting in Delhi. They are the people we need to please. So even if we get into trouble here in Kerala, it's okay.
And
this
not
has
just
not
that,
been a one-off incident, right? This.
But for Gopala Krishnan, it's been a one-off incident.
No, I'm saying this IAS cadre and IPS cadre being influenced by Delhi and being Sankhified and not listening to the state government has been an issue that has been boiling for now quite few years, right? And the Pandai government has been having a hard time of how to reel in this kind of controversy that Pandai police one time they call him, then they call them a Sanghi police and not taking Pandai's command and all of those issues. But I think the exact sections that they have imposed from the acts to criminalize this, you have told me that there is nothing posted on that group, just that group was created and there was nothing, no kind of. So Anup, I'm also wondering how they are going to put these sections because there is nothing to show that something criminal has happened. They have just, it says randomly, getting together on the offline world. It's WhatsApp groups have turned into something similar. And unless there is a criminal intent there, how can they penalize them for just forming a WhatsApp group? Yeah,
I assume the action has been taken under the Central Civil Service rules,
Yes.
which very interestingly are also increasingly extended to universities and people like me, where you basically cannot say anything against the government, right? And it's from the 1960s, and if you go through it, they are basically not allowed to say anything, right? And as bureaucrats, they're not allowed to say anything. And for me, the interesting issue really was, I think, a similar issue flared up when I think it was a Telangana IAS officer, a woman who said something against the Bilkis Bano decision that the Gujarat government had taken, and then was pulled up for that how can an IAS officer criticize that? And I think therefore this issue really raises, I think where this is going to go is with both these IAS officers, they are going to make this a conversation about what freedoms are available to IAS officers and whether the Central Civil Service rules are far too restrictive and we must allow them to express, and they must, just like everybody else has a freedom of association. If I want to form a group, so should the IAS officer, right? And so obviously things like the government order then saying that you're no longer prohibited from becoming a member of the RSS, right? That also happened recently, right? So all of this you can see coming into, it's a very troubling dynamic where you're trying to sort of politicize the bureaucracy, right? And you're trying to create that space for politicization. But I think we will run. The problem is that this will run into very seemingly principled legal questions in terms of, oh, are you saying that if IS officer criticizes the Bilkis Bano decision of the Gujarat government, then you're okay with that? But suddenly, if somebody wants to form a group of Mallu IS officers, Mallu Hindu IS officers, that is not okay for you. That is just, so this is just really about viewpoint discrimination, whether you like it or not. And there is no real, you're not really arguing this on a principled manner. But I think this is going to get formed like that as a part of a political move to politicize the bureaucracy, right?
Yeah,
But I
right
can
now,
see the merits of that argument though.
yeah. Right now, this whole plot to me looks like a Drishyam movie scene where, there are subplots and a lot of plots. I don't know how this is going to play out in the next few days. But yeah, some of these issues of how this can be criminalized and what this is going to turn out in the long run about the civil servants' rights is going to be there at the core of it.
But I think we can't compare, the Bilkis Banu episode with this because, I mean, this is communal. And that is just plain common sense.
But why is it communal? He merely made a group.
Why Hindu only?
Because he wanted to get. I'm just playing the devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
How does it actually break the unity of the force of the cadres?
Which everyone, no? If they don't want to take Deepavali wishes, reject it. It's okay, right?
Abhinandan, you wanted to say something?
So, no, yeah, I mean, I think this is again, I think one of those unsolvable kind of problems. I mean, the convention is going to decide this, not rule. And like there are certain things that are just conventions, like army not having a view on voting, like just as a matter of optics, the president of India at one point would not vote. The first citizen would not go cast his vote. On the one hand, they want to restrict the speech of not just serving officers, even retired. Now, I'm sure you guys also have the same problem as do we. When we ask a recently retired general or a recently retired joint secretary to write an opinion piece, they said, Bhaiya, we cannot write, our pension will be zapt. Our legal luminaries can tell us what the rule is, but apparently there's some rule that after retirement also you cannot say anything that could, of course it's very vaguely worded, that something that could compromise the National Security or Secrets Act or whatever the fuck it is. So, then you're again, even after retirement, you can't do it, serving the chhod do. So that's where we are.
No, but I think to everyone here, what I want to discuss is not just about procedure, right? It's also political in the sense that a CPM government or a Congress government is now starting to feel that a lot of these bureaucrats and even IPS officers, IS officers are tilted towards the Sangh or towards the BJP. Kerala, in fact, has a lot of IPS officers who have joined the BJP, including DGP level officers who have joined the BJP immediately after their retirement.
This news sounds new because we have new lens to look at it. I think it has always been the truth in India that a lot of civil servants, everyone, there has been the upper caste and the Brahminical stronghold on every institution, and a lot of that has been Sanghified for a long time. It's just that we have a new lens to look at it right now. I don't think that them being Sanghified is nothing new.
No, but a lot of non-BJP governments have been trying to tackle, and this is very difficult because Siddaramaiah has spoken about this. In Karnataka, the coast is completely saffron, right? And when I say that, I don't mean just these random Bajrang Dal types. The officers there, the police officers, are completely right-wing. So it doesn't matter who comes to power, Congress, even if JDS comes, I don't think that's going to happen. But if they do come, eventually they will still be right-wing. So what do you do when the orders that you're giving are not being carried out? And I think that is the same problem these guys are facing now, right, Dhanya, in Kerala. They feel that there is some jeopardy happening within their own system, their own machinery, because, of course, you have this very combative governor also, who just is waiting for something to come from some department so he can take it to screw the chief minister in the government. So, you have things slipping from under you. So how do you tackle it? So they're trying to tackle that larger issue, I feel. It shouldn't be criminalized, I agree with you, but it should be addressed, I think.
But, sorry, but I was laughing when initially one of the IAS officers told me that they thought Gopalakrishnan wanted to make a broadcast list and send Deepavali wishes. Instead of making a broadcast list, he made a WhatsApp group. And that's how the name went to everyone. I don't know if it's a truth, but if it is, then very sad for him.
We have a WhatsApp channel. The News Minute has a WhatsApp channel.
It's like Abhinandan's ghost has entered Pooja. Anything she will
God,
plug
let her
now.
finish. She is making important insights.
Yes.
So, if you don't want to be added on stupid groups like Hindu-only officers, be part of the News Minute WhatsApp channel, where you will get high-quality journalism and only verified WhatsApp forwards, not what you get in your family WhatsApp groups. I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now we'll move on to the second and the most important topic, which is former Chief Justice of India, CJI Chandrachud. Do you guys remember any other Chief Justice who was discussed as much during his retirement? Leena, Anup?
No, but tell me which, in recent times, which Chief Justice got this much time on the Supreme Court bench too. So, they have all lasted only a few...
for certain other reasons, but other than that...
But I understand that the kind of how this has played out in news media, the whole Chandrachud tenure was something different, but also he could play it out well because he had the time to his advantage. He had 2 years, close to 2 years on being the CJI there, and more than that on the Supreme Court bench as a judge. And one of the most liberal one. You hear him talk at any other of his seminars, speeches, media interactions. He always woes you down, right? He's really good with how he presents himself, and he's well educated and quite a liberal one to be on the bench too. So yes, that merits all attention.
Yeah, I think it's the Chandrachud project is a much longer one, right? It's right from his time in the Bombay High Court to Allahabad. It's been a long time in the making. And what is really fascinating for me, really, as somebody who watches the court closely, is its complete unraveling at the end, right? And a carefully constructed legacy over 2 decades, just completely unraveled. And they're very, and I must admit, I know I'm not one of those who says, yeah, I was always skeptical. I knew he would turn out like this, right? Certainly was somebody, and I think for a long time you went only by his judgments that he was writing when he was in the High Court, and also just as a judge of the Supreme Court. The kind of reasoning and the kind of manner in which he was writing those judgments was certainly a breath of fresh air for those who follow judgments. The way he writes them, reasons them, all very different, and therefore that those expectations were much more, undoubtedly, but a serious disappointment. And I was so curious to see that when Khanna took over as Chief Justice on the first day, I was so glad that there was no cover page photo of him and his family on the front page of the Indian Express, right? That when Chandrachud took over on the first day was him, his family, his foster daughters, and I think there was one cat also, right? And I'm so glad. And I think there's a serious conversation to be had as to how should judges, particularly chief justices, be so public. I think what has happened with Chandrachud is that he created an completely alternate set of circumstances where he tried to build that legacy of being a liberal judge and of having a certain disposition, which just didn't play out in court in sort of fighting the really tough political battles of our time, right? That was going to the court. And I don't think judges should be given that liberty. It's too comfortable a job to then say, I can build a certain narrative and a legacy outside court. I do think judges should be judged purely by what they do inside court, and giving them this opportunity. And this has been, and the last few chief justices, all of them do this, right? They have a big interview when they join, when they take over as chief justice, and one when they demit office a final. I think these are things that we should just go back to, that judges don't do, because it just gives them,
Anup,
it's
can I have
playing
a
to their advantage.
can I have a slightly contrarian view there? When I've tried to interview all the retired chief justice and all, they still believe that they can only talk through the judgments and they should not talk to us press at all. And some I've being someone who has been part of the court, I understand that how important that is to hold that structure in place and all that. But coming from the place where I am an editor and a journalist, when I hear him saying, CJI DYC saying that, I've prayed to the idol and that's how he wrote this judgment. For me, that insight is very important. I wouldn't have got it unless he spoke about it. The candid way which he put about it, I don't know who he was playing it for, Of course, he had an audience in mind when he said that. Like most of the commentators have also pointed out the same thing. But for me, that coming out of his mouth tells us so much about these judges and the way they are doing these judgments at the end of the day, what goes behind the scene. As a long form journalist and writer, this insight is very useful for me to understand what these people are. The facade sort of falls.
So Anup, I just want to say the same thing as Leena did. I mean, principally, you may believe that judges have to be judged by their judgments. I want to say something very juvenile. Can I please go ahead and say, yeah. So when I was a younger reporter, I once went to interview a judge, a sitting judge. He was a chief justice of a high court. There was a big controversy and I had to go to his house to interview. After a lot of dilly-dallying, he finally agreed for the interview. I went to his house. All his judgments till then were questionable for a few and not for the others. It's an insight I got, okay? He was behaving so badly to the human beings in his house, including his own family. And I'm thinking, how is this man writing judgments about justice for others when he is treating people so that it is a very small insight I then had. But like what Leena was saying, we would have talked about Chandrachud of a Hadya judgment, where we held him in great regard. So many other judgments, right? But it's only when he opens his mouth.
Yeah.
That we also know.
The public gets more informed than someone like, otherwise we would have to hear from someone like Anup, when he wrote this judgment, this is what he meant. And this, we have to hear from intellectuals on how, we can read into them. But
so why should the public not know, Anup? Like, why should the judges not be unraveled that way?
Yeah, no, look, obviously, these are the counter arguments on the other side. And,
yes.
We obviously went through that phase of saying it's good to have judges open up. It's good to have judges discuss the judicial philosophy, right? But I think in these political times, right, it's for me, balancing all these considerations, it's far too dangerous. It gives judges the ability and the platform to posture, to reach out, right? Justice Arun Mishra saying that, Modi is some great genius of that sort. You're appealing to an audience. You're not just appealing to the Prime Minister. You're trying to create a certain narrative and image of yourselves. And Arun Mishra might not have appealed to people like us, right? But Arun Mishra certainly appealed to a lot more other people. And I think on a balance, I'm not saying all the arguments that you're saying are not valid, but on a balance of things and the times in which we're operating, I'd rather not hear from Chandrachud over weekend after weekend about his
you're going to hear from him more now, I feel.
On but I'd rather judge on what he did as a judge and a chief justice, right? And I think if we were limited to that, what is now happening is that there is a balance being drawn out for Chandrachud, right? That he said all these things, he had all these views, he was of great intellect, right? Look at his views, and that is being balanced against what he did in court. And I just wish we didn't find ourselves in a situation where we are saying, 10 great things, 5 bad things, combining inside court and outside court.
Yeah. So what we are trying to say here is these are distractions, like these statements and comments he put out, the photo op with Modi and all distractions. Whereas actually today, me and Anup, we should be actually taking apart the Ayodhya decision that he brought out. All the other things, the Shiv Sena, the way the court stepped in and ruined the situation in Maharashtra. Those are the things that Chandrachud's legacy, real legacy is.
And that of 370.
Yeah. So all those things are the places where we should.
Yeah. Abhinandan has been quiet for more than 10 minutes. Abhinandan.
No, that's okay. Just, a couple of points I want to make. One is that I think key being what Anuj said, that about disappointment. I think the disappointment may have come, and again, I don't actually have a very firm position on what is my larger view of Chandrachud. I actually don't. I thought Pratap Bhanu's Mehta's piece was very beautifully written and very well articulated, and very readable, but I'm not sure I would consider it very fair. But I also will not say it's unfair, because I actually would want to take a position once I've informed myself a little more. But just on gut, I think disappointment is a key word, because maybe people in general had built up Chandrachud as someone like Pratap Bhanu Mehta says, that if a casting director had to pick a judge for the current age, it would be him, and he failed miserably. Now, I remember, I don't know sorry, Pooja, you're saying something?
No, go on, complete it.
Justice Sabharwal, back in Tehelka, did a cover story. I don't know whether you remember, Dhanya, were you a journalist back, what was it, 2000, 2001? I don't even remember what year it was.
No, I was not a journalist back then.
Oh, sorry, you could not have been. But you know what I'm talking about, right? Justice Sabharwal cover story Tehelka on the entire judgment of sealing Delhi, and his allegation was his children are part. Now, up until the point, Justice Sabharwal was apparently unblemished. Apparently, he had one amazing judgment after the other. But as Chief Justice, before he went out, this one thing, the cover story Tehelka as contempt of court, I think they were like hauled up big time. And we have heard such stories about, other justices also. And the cover stories on justice, from Justice Kapadia to Gogoi, everyone's done a cover story on a Chief Justice. That is par for course. So I think, like in Trump's case, Trump can do and say the most horrible things, but it will not, no eyebrow will be raised, because that is okay. You don't expect any better. But if, let's say, Harris was to say something, completely disgusting, worse than what Trump says, it would be a headline, because you expect better from us. So are we incentivizing having a high standard? Are we disincentivizing having a high standard, because then you're going to be judged harsher, as opposed to have Trump standard, then you can get away with anything, and anything you do is, oh, that's good.
No,
So
are you
I'm just
saying that
wondering,
he's
thinking out
being
loud,
judged too harshly? Are you saying that Chandrachud is being judged too harshly?
Yeah, I'm just saying, had we set a different bar for him as Chief Justice go? I gave you the example of Justice Sabharwal. He was hauled over coals. But apparently, from what I hear from my friends-in-law, he wasn't so bad. And the second thing is, and this is extremely important, because it tells you a lot about people here. You said that there was this photograph of him. He had his daughter's wife and a cat. Never trust people with cats in their homes.
Abhinandan Sekhri will not be invited for
because-
any more South Central
because-
episodes. We will have to cut him
There's a
here.
certain person in this discussion who has 3 cats in their house, who come and bother guests when they come to their house, which is, I think, something that is an insight into their character and
I have
personality
3
as well.
cats in my house who will be discussed again and again. Twix, Shuri and Goldie. And yes, thank you, Abhinandan. We will not be coming back to you for this discussion. But yeah, I want to actually pick up from something that he said. Is he being judged too harshly? I think all of you think no. There's something else which Pratap Bhanu Mehta said, Anup. He said that Chandrachud has consistently legalized majoritarianism. Is that something that you also pick up from his trajectory?
Yeah, I think what he meant by that is that there hasn't been sufficient scrutiny, or he has not chosen to scrutinize many actions of this government with the kind of judicial scrutiny and review that you would have expected of a judge, given his sharpness and his intellect in analyzing so many issues on be it equality or disability rights or reservations, right? When it came to holding the executive accountable, I just feel that sharpness and that, I think more than anything else, I think what was really disappointing for me was a lack of willingness to hold a sort of marauding executive unaccountable, right? I think that willingness was just not there. And that really was disappointing to see, because it was not like he didn't have the intellectual capability to do it and the tools at disposal which he showed in various other fora, but not when it came to this. So
I think both were PR.
Sorry, Pooja, sorry, just to cut in, just want to clarify, the Justice Sabharwal case was 2007 and 4 midday journalists were sentenced to prison for contempt of court for making such allegations about an ex-judge because of, a cartoon that they drew based on the cover story that was done in 2006 or 7 by Tehelka. So that, they really came down on any kind of negative coverage about him.
And I want to just talk about this one word which Indira Jaising used on him. She called him a right liberal. The right liberal, she called him. What do you think of that term, Leena?
The right liberal.
The right liberal.
It's a strange word to...
I think it sums him up quite well.
Does it, Anup? Does it sum him up quite well? The right liberal?
Yeah,
Anup,
I think absolutely. I think in a very strange sense pro-state, right? A very strange sense pro-state, very reluctant to hold the state accountable on the sharpest questions, on the sharpest questions where the state is most invested, right? There is no, you can say all that you want for the low-hanging fruit where the state is not as invested in those battles, but where the state is most invested in those battles, be it Ayodhya or 370, you can see a certain strange kind of conservatism coming in. And I agree with Pooja that, why you have that expectation is that repeatedly, also look, at the end of the day, there is also perception that this guy is so articulate, right? Harvard educated, right? Is speaking a certain language, is using a certain vocabulary. So, there is that expectation and there's so much visibility that whether he engineered it himself or was given to him is a separate question. I don't have the answer to that. But certainly we got to see and hear a lot of what he was saying. And outside court, it sounded also beautiful, right? It sounded, and I guess this yearning to have some of that come into judicial sort of activity inside court. We just didn't see that happening. But I think that certainly was deliberate and built up, right?
His post-retirement position in government, outside government, quasi-government will tell us a lot, I think. But just one thing on this whole religious angle that he's been attacked so much on, I think there's an important, and I've been saying this for a long time, I personally am not religious. But I think it is important to point out that religiosity is something that progressives or liberals or whatever you want to call them mock at their own peril, because not everybody who is religious or invokes religion is a bad person. And I think that is something that one has to stop frowning upon, because it is a very important part of life. And I'd like to quote this one essay from 1998, when Time magazine used to have that last page essay. It was a wonderful essay that I have saved. It's called "Will It Be Coffee, Tea or He?" It is very beautifully written by someone who's obviously has his liberal creds. It starts off with, "As I checked in for an outpatient test at a local hospital last week, the admissions lady asked for the usual name, rank, serial number, insurance and ailment. Then she inquired, 'What is your religious preference?' I was tempted to say, 'I think Buddhism is the coolest of all, but I happen to be Jewish.' My second impulse was to repeat what Jonah said when asked by the shipmates of his foundering skiff to identify himself. 'I'm a Hebrew man and I fear the Lord, God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land.' But that would surely have got me sent to psychiatry rather than x-ray, so I desisted. In ancient times, they asked, 'Who is your God?' A generation ago, they asked, 'Your religion.' Today, your creed is a preference. I take my coffee black, my wine red, my sex straight, my shirt slightly starched, and oh yes, put me down for Islam." Now, he is making a comment that religiosity is not something that is, in any country, especially like Obama, famously atheist, would hold hands in church and sing, etc. So I do not frown upon invocation of God. And I think that is, we do at our own peril. And I understand that a judge doing it is different from a politician doing it. But on that, I personally find it distasteful. But I would not judge someone on that metric. I may judge them on others.
No, I think Obama saying it is perfectly fine because he's a politician. In the Ayodhya case, a judge coming out and saying this is not like,
Also-
it's not a slip up.
Yeah.
It's deliberately
Also,
put
in
there.
this opening scene of the caravan profile of DYC, he says that when he was in Allahabad CJI, he would not invite any politician to functions like these, would strictly keep them away from this because of the separation of state and judiciary. He would only invite his brother judges. But here at the Supreme Court, he didn't invite his brother judges, but decided to invite PM.
As Abhinandan himself recognized, I think I agree with that critique of our attitudes towards religiosity, and I think there's something to be spoken about there. But I think the issue is very different when a judge displays this kind of religiosity as a factor and influencing his public discharge of duties, and it's such a terrible message to send down the line in the judiciary, to be doing a puja with the Prime Minister and releasing those photographs. And I think he was completely disingenuous in his conversation with the Indian Express, saying that, yeah, if we meet people at private gatherings, what is so wrong about it? No, the Chief Justice made it a public issue by releasing that photograph. And look at the message that you send down the chain to judges in the High Court, in the district judiciary, that it's okay to do this kind of thing. Right? That it is okay.
I agree with you, Anuj. Sorry. I agree with you on the case of him doing that aarti with Prime Minister Modi. But I think that I will look at very differently as him saying that I turned to God to find the strength to give difficult judgments. I think those are two very different things.
No, my problem is
One
with
is
not
a very
with him turning to God.
I would, like, for me, like, it's a very cheesy poster, but I love it. And I saw it, I think, on Janpath once, that, I'm sure you've heard this, that when a man looked back at the footprints of his life, he saw that there was always two sets of footprints. But at the most difficult points, there was just one set of footprints. And he asked the Lord, "Oh Lord, why do you abandon me at the most difficult times?" And the Lord said, "I didn't abandon you. That's where I carried you." That's what it is. I find it an extremely moving story. And I would love to tell that story to whenever I want strength. And sometimes you turn to God for strength when you have none. So that's different from in front of Modi ji's, ab camera aao, ab dekho hum dono saath khade ho rahe hain. And of course, I would have loved to have Chandrachud cover Modi and Modi move him like he moved Mark Zuckerberg. That would have been lovely. But
I just want to add, I don't have a problem with him turning to God. He can do that. That's private. But over a year later, coming out and speaking about it is not accidental. It is very deliberate. Last comments, I just want to say, Dushyant Dave said this, and I thought it perfectly summarizes a lot of his judgments. Operation success, patient dead. So he'll say, great things in the Ayodhya judgment. Eventually, he'll give the land right? Same with abrogation of Article 370. He'll say that, okay, we have a lot of concern with what's happening, but we'll stand by the government. We don't have any reason.
Electoral bonds.
Exactly.
Electoral bonds.
It's illegal, but will not punish
a
anyone.
lot
Will not recover
LG
money.
issue as well, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Delhi LG issue.
In the moment he comes down heavily, we know that the judgment is going to say something.
So a lot of phrases for Chandrachud, right, liberal, what is it? Operation successful?
Operation success, patient dead.
Patient dead. And one thing which Pratap Bhanu Mehta said, he was a judge for the age of Narendra Modi. I really like that.
Yeah.
Performative, right? All of them performative. So finally, we go to the last topic, which was on request by Abhinandan Sekhri, which is to discuss Vijay, actor Vijay's new political party called Tamizhaga Vetri Kazhagam, TVK. Abhinandan, why did you insist on discussing about Vijay?
No, I just thought that when we have a podcast dedicated to politics of the South, at least from my limited understanding, and it is, not at all comparable to your guys, he's huge, right? I personally have not seen a single film of his, but I have been told that he's bigger than Rajnikant.
Do not talk.
And I've seen a lot of films of Rajnikant, and I know the stature Rajnikant has or had. Apparently, he's bigger than Rajnikant, right?
No way. Please go away.
Sorry?
Okay, no, hold on. Peace. Because Pooja is a hardcore Rajnikant fan. She will keep saying something.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
so what you're saying
as
is...
a star, his films, is a short, spectacular success. He has the kind of loyal audience, fan audience, etc., etc. So for someone like him to come into politics so unambiguously, I mean, I think Rajnikant's entry into politics was a clumsy, disorganized disaster. And the fact that his speech everyone reacted to. When he made this veiled attack at Stalin, everyone finds him a contender. So, and especially because the vacuum that's left after Jayalalitha's passing, I mean, I don't know how relevant it is. I just thought it was a significant political development, and it has the perfect mix of showbiz, politics, this young buck. So yeah, I just want to. I thought through this podcast we could get some insights into that for the rest of the audience of the South. That's why I insisted.
Yeah, so Rajnikant and Vijay both are popular. Rajnikant, of course.
Rajnikant is more popular.
Okay, Pooja is a fan. I'm not of either. So I will just say politically, like MGR built fan clubs, then Rajnikant built fan clubs. Vijay also has a huge bank of fan clubs, right? But I think where Vijay is very different from Rajnikant is that Vijay has not chosen to turn 60, 70, 80 to come to politics when his movie career is at a fag end. He's actually come when he is a big thing, and he's clearly made that a talking point. He's saying that I am at the peak, and that's when I'm leaving the industry and coming into politics, which will work for him. Rajnikant, I think, had a non-entry, right? He never really entered politics. And the second thing is Vijay, I feel, has a appeal in rural and urban areas of Tamil Nadu. It's, like Kamal Hassan is a very urban fan.
Intellectual.
Urban intellectual. I mean, Kamal Hassan is a failed politician. So he should not be compared to any of these people. But Vijay has urban and rural fans, and he has across age groups. Young people, old people, middle-aged people, women, youth, children. So all that constituencies will work for him. What are your thoughts, Pooja?
So I think we should look at this from two angles. One is there a place for another party in Tamil Nadu? Because it is a state with a lot of parties. People outside perhaps know, Abhinandan types might know that there is just DMK and ADMK. But there is your PMK, there is VCK, a lot of caste and region-based parties, right?
And NTK.
And NTK, so many of them. But there is still space for one pan-Tamil Nadu party, which is neither DMK or ADMK without their baggage. Because I think ADMK is still finding its way. Is it a Dravidian party still? Is it pro-BJP? Somewhere in the middle. Where I found his positioning very interesting is he is taking on the BJP, but he's also taking on the DMK. Right? So all those who do not want
But he has no other way. What will he otherwise do? He can't come and praise the DMK or BJP. He has to take them on.
That space is still there. Because DMK has a lot of baggage, right? Corruption cases, their past and history, which is also a weapon, though it is an asset. So he can kind of weaponize all of this. And I think the biggest challenge for me, the second point is, will he end up being a Pawan Kalyan where there's no structure to the party, right? There is one superstar, one mega star on top. And after that, what happens?
Hello. Let me pause you there. But Pawan Kalyan, for all that we can point out that there's no second level structure or third level, he has waited patiently, won this many seats and become the deputy chief minister of that state.
But what is his ideology? What does he stand for? What is his
party? He can change it every 5 years.
Right.
Why? What is the point of ideology? You see people going from one party to the other.
But I don't think Tamil Nadu is Andhra. I think people
in
Tamil Nadu
Vijay is very clear, right?
He
is behaving like a Dravidian politician.
Correct.
He's sticking to all the Dravidian things about no NEET or, no governor, all that he is sticking to the thing. But he doesn't have, like PMK has a caste tag to it. He will not have it. I don't know if Vijay will end up being like a Vijay Kant or an NTK where you get only 10 to 15% of the vote. That will be a waste for Vijay.
I disagree. I think, in fact, Vijay Kant's first two elections, I think that has been the biggest success we have seen for new parties, right? DMDK got a good chunk of votes. I think first was around 8.
But Vijay is way bigger than Vijay Kant.
Be that as
he can't be only
first
that much.
Election,
but my
right?
question is that just looking at, like, for someone who doesn't understand the growth of Tamil Nadu politics and parties, can say, okay, the politics is married to the industry, the cinema thing, and it's very easy to take fan clubs and turn it into your vote banks.
Not very easy.
No, that's exactly what I'm telling, that it's not at all easy. If you look at the growth of DMK and the AIADMK and all that, there is a cadre-based system. That is something like, how Kalenga wrote scripts to movies that MGR made, and that combination and how they went into creating the kind of, the Dravidian politics and all of that. That is why the party still lives into the, it's knitted into the society of Tamil Nadu. And it's very difficult for, like, other than Vijay, who do we know in that party? Who's his number 2, number 3? There is nothing there. And what is a cadre? You can turn your Nadigar Sangam into your vote banks. You have no idea how that is going to play out. So
I mean, obviously, the state has a history of this, right from Annadurai and Karunanidhi being involved in art and entertainment, even if it's through drama, not necessarily through cinema and all of that. And I think it's part of that ideology that art can be used for as a political tool, right? And now it'd be interesting to see whether with Vijay this sort of translates into the cinema that is going to be made or not. I don't know, but also I think the little history of this that I have read of this movement of people involved in art entering politics, and correct me if I'm wrong, it didn't seem like any of them made a direct jump into politics. There was some engagement with public work, social work, all of that in the successful politicians who made their transition before they jumped into politics, right?
Speaking of Captain Vijaykant, I think someone mentioned, I
did,
think his last few interviews, I don't know if he was, because I don't think he was that old. I just don't think he was sober. He didn't seem...
no, he was not.
Yeah, because I saw a few interviews, he was I was like, dude, okay, maybe that's just his style. But, on the ideology issue, I think we are in an age, post-ideological age, even politically speaking, and I'll explain what I mean by that. I think charisma, and that is the curse of the social media age. I think politics and news and communication, anything that you communicate with a large mass of people, can be divided into the pre-broadcast era, print, the post-broadcast era, when, satellite channels, etc. The digital era, which I'd say starts from maybe the early mid-2000s till the mid-2010s, and the social media era. I think in the social media era, personal charisma is the only thing that determines your success. And I'll give you a few examples. One is Donald Trump. What is his ideology? He is ideologically agnostic. He can be Christian and yet his personal conduct is anything but Christian. Is he free market or is he a trade, protector? Is he a libertarian or is he, more protectionist? There is none. Let's take the example of Delhi. Arvind Kejriwal and the Aam Aadmi Party. What is their ideology? Anti-corruption is not an ideology. Everyone is anti-corruption. From a time where famously the leadership was they may not have stated it, but I mean, it was understood that they are like the atheist types. Like Atishi Marlena's surname was Marx and Lenin ka Mishran. I mean, her mother was a very well-known professor of political science in Delhi University. Professor Tripta. But today she is wearing that red and doing Chhat Puja and doing Gol and Kejriwal is reading Hanuman Chalisa. No one gives a shit. As long as you're charismatic. I think in the social media age, personal charisma is all that matters. And other than that, you need an on-ground game. And that can be your backroom who understands mohalla level, WhatsApp groups. We've done stories around that. As long as you have these two, I don't think in today's day and age, you need an ideology.
Yeah, so to just add to what all of you have been saying, it will end up looking like I'm defending Vijay's party. But yeah, Anup, Vijay has had very robust fan clubs, which also have been indulging in social activities for quite some time now. So his whole plan has been to convert these fan clubs into his political party. And he's very... disciplined about it. Like he meets them almost every month. He has district level meetings. He's one of those stars who's diligently cultivated that big fan association, right? And it's always a incentive for them when they can actually meet their star, give him a hug and take a picture with them. So he's done that for years.
Did that too.
Huh?
But look at Rahul Gandhi, who did that with the Youth Congress for a long time and still kept losing
but
elections.
This guy is building a new party. Therefore, I'm saying that his whole thought has been, of course, to translate his his fan clubs into a political party. How much will it happen? We don't know, because half these fans can be DMK and AIADMK cadre also, right? They wouldn't want to just become Vijay fans. So that is a problem. But I feel the issue really is, okay, you have fans who may become your voters and you have some certain ideologies here and there. But who are your faces in every district, right? That Vijay does not have even as much as Pawan Kalyan, I think. And that is, and talking about charisma, what Abhinandan says is definitely true.
But what I want to say, Abhinandan, is that just charisma is a big thing these days. But for Trump wouldn't have won without the Republican Party's machinery that operates with, where they have consistently won elections, raised big funds, and all that. And
but it depends,
then
right?
The drama this guy does.
No, what if Vijay gets into an alliance with already with parties which have proper cadre on the ground? He will just be that impetus to that alliance, right? That is one thing which can work for him. So that way, he can.
Yeah, and I must say,
Yeah, but that's what I said. I said you need the charisma and you need a ground game, which is the structure. You don't need ideology. So that ground game is, you can call it structure, you can call it party, you can call it mohalla level engagement. Those are the only two things you need.
And even the DMK is taking Vijay very seriously.
Yeah, which is surprising.
They are actually trumping up their entire election game. They are looking at appointing people who will be in charge of elections, orators. They're going to look at why, because DMK knows that there is a constituency of people, especially young people, who are now looking at different options. Now, whether Vijay will be that option, we don't know.
what are the allegations that people have against DMK, right? The family politics doesn't apply to Vijay. That he had everything handed to him doesn't apply. Corruption doesn't apply. As of now, I'm saying. We'll see. So, it's a fresh start without any of the baggage. And BJP will have to find some ways of kind of attacking him. They went with that Joseph thing, which in Tamil Nadu doesn't work, right?
So Abhinandan his name is Joseph Vijay. So the BJP has been continuously attacking him, saying you're Joseph, which I think also propelled Vijay to come into politics faster.
Exactly.
Where we'll keep a track of what Vijay's party will end up becoming. That's it on the first episode. Before we wrap up, we obviously have to go to the recommendations. Anup, we'll go with you first. What is your recommendation?
Yeah, I have this book to recommend, right? Since it's South Central, it's Stories of the True. It's a short story collection by Jay Mohan. It's translated from Tamil. A fantastic set of short stories. I don't read Tamil, so I have to read the English translated version, but very strongly recommended. Yeah.
So I wanted to recommend this one, a podcast, the Ezra Klein Show, which has spoken about the latest episode is the book that predicted Trump's victory. I think it's a very good insight and analysis of what happened. And because this is the first episode of South Central, I shall recommend something that is very typically South, like I should. And because I don't consume so much of South media, one of my favorite films, which is Nayakan, which is a Kamal Hassan film. I don't know whether today's generation has watched those, because sometimes I hear people haven't seen Sholay, etc. in the North. But I think it's a phenomenal movie. I loved it. And I still consider one of my top films. And most importantly, please subscribe and become a member of the News Minute, because they take no ads, they do fantastic journalism, they have a great team, and they're all very highbrow and self-conscious to push you to contribute. So if you are one of those who just sits and whines about the state of the media, congratulations, you have social media for that. Whine all you want. You can also curse us. I really think it's nonsensical bullshit. But if you really want to make a difference, you can contribute and pay to keep news free. And if you're a student and you cannot afford it, then just convince your parents or uncle or aunt or elder brother or sister. Or what I do is, when my friends get drunk, I just take their phones, take their wallets, key in the data, and just make them subscribe. You can use any of those devices. Thank you.
I send threats to a lot of people.
Since we were speaking about, the CJI today, I watched this interview of Dushyant Dave with Karan Thapar. I thought it was a very powerful, hard-hitting interview. And I think I recommend you watch that. But also, since we're all giving very heavy recommendations, if you want to just over the weekend watch something, you go and watch the latest season of Diplomat on Netflix. It's the second season. And it's very fast paced. Of course, typical American propaganda, but it's well done, I thought. So yeah, two things for you. One for the brain, one for just time pass.
Leena?
Yeah, I'd give reading recommendations, and because we discussed Chandrachud's legacy, I'd recommend the latest Caravan cover story on the performative justice, which also talks in detail something we have not discussed here, which is the Judge Loya and how he dealt with the request for investigation on that. And also another blog that everybody who practices in Supreme Court would be well aware and often consulting, which is Gautam Bhatia's blog. And he has done a very detailed look at how Chandrachud's judgment has worked out, all the world's stage on the legacy of Chief Justice CJI Chandrachud. Those are the two reading recommendations from me.
Okay, I'm going to give a Chandrachud recommendation itself, which is I like the Indra Jaisingh article on Leaflet. I thought that she is how the expectations were there and then how they were broken. She gives a nice, I think, like a timeline of what happened. So for someone who is very unaware, that's a nice timeline to read. So do read that article. It's on the Leaflet. So that's it. The first episode of South Central, a podcast which puts South at the center, comes to an end. It comes every Friday. So do join us next Friday too. Thank you, Anup. Thank you, Abhinandan, Leena and Pooja. And as Abhinandan said, right time to take the phone. If you do not have the money, take somebody else's phone, your father, mother, whoever it is, and become a subscriber, and tell all your friends, family members to become subscribers, or we will have to have meetings with businessmen, which we do not want.
Big industrialists.
Yeah. Yeah, and saying that, do also catch Srinivasan Jain's interview with Ajit Pawar. It is for subscribers. And every Tuesday, do read Power Trip. We put a lot of work into it. Me, Pooja and Shabir.
It's my favorite newsletter.
Thank you, thank you.
We did not pay her to say this.
Yes.
I swear.
And we did not give a free subscription to say this.
Abhinandan, it's your cue to praise us one last time before you go.
Yes, you must. Power Trip. They do fantastic work. It's an amazing newsletter. A must only for members of the News Minute.
You should give
So you
Anup a
must
chance
contribute.
Yeah. Anup, we are giving you subscription today to read. But I don't think we should give subscription free
No,
to
I'm
lawyers.
giving him a chance to praise you.
I'll put it as a promotion requirement in office. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's it.
That's the best. And no free subscription for lawyers. They earn a lot of money, I feel. Yeah. So thank you very much, everyone. And thanks to all the team behind South Central, Bhuvan, Ajay and Megha. Join us next week again.